It's the midweek edition of Business Morning. Good morning and welcome. Thank you for joining us. I'm Chimeze Obi Iwago. We get the show started with our update on oil prices. Prices extended gains for a third session today, rising alongside broader financial markets on hopes Washington will soon approve a massive aid package to stem the economic impact of the coronavirus pandemic. U.S. crude touched a high of $25.24 a barrel early in the session and was at $24.82 a barrel, up 81 cents. Brent crude was trading up 75 cents at $27.90 a barrel after rising to a high of $28.29. The U.S. Congress may vote on Wednesday on the $2 trillion stimulus after Republicans and Democrats said they were close to a deal, with optimism over the package fueling a surge in stock markets. Still, demand for oil products, especially jet fuel, is falling worldwide as more governments announce nationwide lockdowns to curb the spread of the coronavirus, putting a lid on oil price gains. The market is also facing the threat of increased supplies after the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries and other producers, including Russia, a grouping known as OPEC Plus, failed to extend an agreement to cut production and support prices beyond end of March. In the meantime, the International Monetary Fund projects the global economy will slide into a recession that is at least as bad as during the global financial crisis, or worse, this year on the back of the coronavirus pandemic. The managing director, IMF, Kristalina Georgieva, says many emerging markets and low-income countries are already facing significant challenges. She maintains that the human costs of the coronavirus pandemic are already immeasurable, and all countries need to work together to protect people and limit the economic damage. In her words, this is a moment for solidarity. According to her, the economic impact is and will be severe, but the faster the virus stops, the quicker and stronger the recovery will be. She welcomed the moves of major central banks to ease monetary policy and says that more bold efforts will be needed, especially on the fiscal front. The IMF is concentrating bilateral and multilateral surveillance on the crisis and policy actions to temper its impact on its members. Meanwhile, the monetary policy of the Nigerian Central Bank yesterday decided to leave the key interest rate unchanged unchanged, and of course leaving all other parameters unchanged. The governor of the central bank, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, while briefing on the outcome of the meeting, says the committee noted the weakened revenue position of the federal government arising from the sharp drop in oil prices. It reiterated the need for government to urgently reduce reliance on oil revenue by gradually diversifying the economy and improving tax collection. Let's take a listen.
To this end, MPC noted the speedy response of the federal government to the oil price shock by the revision of the 2020 budget downwards by 1.5 trillion naira and the oil price benchmark to $30 per barrel. However, MPC urged the National Assembly to avoid the tendency to increasing the benchmark price of oil in the federal budget, as this usually results in the adoption of unrealistic budgetary estimates. In addition, the committee noted the introduction of price modulation, resulting in reduction in the pump price of PMS from 145 to 125 naira per liter, and its contributory effect in boosting aggregate demand, lowering inflation, and improving the wealth of the low income in the society. The MPC further noted the persistence of inflationary pressures attributed to a combination of monetary and structural factors, and thus urged the federal government to leverage on the public-private partnership, PPP, to intensify investments in infrastructure to increase output and employment. The committee cited the potentials for foreign direct investment flows to the Nigerian auto manufacturing, aviation, and rail industries, which could take advantage of these viable and untapped domestic and regional markets. The committee noted the sustained improvement in the financial soundness indicators applauding the continued decline in the ratio of non-performing loans, growth in assets of the banking system, and profitability of the industry in the light of increasing global uncertainties. It also recognized the success of the bank's loan-to-deposit ratio policy and its potential to alleviate production shortfalls, reduce unemployment, and boost aggregate demand, urging the bank to pursue this and other related policies to a conclusive end. MPC underscored the coronavirus pandemic as a public health crisis, which will continue to undermine any monetary and fiscal stimulus unless appropriate measures are taken to test, isolate, curtail the spread, and treat infected persons while ensuring that migration across country is prohibited. The MPC therefore called on the federal government to take the necessary steps to safeguard the population through close monitoring and emergency-ready measures to identify and care for infected persons in the country, including compulsory restriction of movement to curtail spread of the pandemic. On the choices before the committee, MPC noted the recent actions of the bank targeted at strengthening the resilience of the financial system and alleviating the initial impact of the crisis. In its wisdom, committee felt that tightening will result in reining in the rising trend in inflation, and that it will support reserve creation. However, it will reduce money supply and limit deposit money banks' credit creation capacity, thus resulting in increasing the cost of credit with adverse impact on output growth. Tightening would also result in a reduction in aggregate demand, as a fall in disposable income will result in output compression, whereas at this time, policy emphasis should be on stimulating aggregate supply and demand, both already weakened by COVID-19. With respect to loosening, whereas the committee felt it would stimulate the economy in the short term and boost aggregate supply and demand, the committee nevertheless was of the view that there was a need to be cautious in loosening, given the fact that it will exacerbate an already worsening inflationary condition, resulting in massive pressure on reserves and the exchange rate. Based on the balance of this argument, the MPC, in taking note of the recent actions already taken by the management of the bank in response to the COVID-19, resolved to allow time for the measures to permeate the economy while allowing the pandemic to wear out its plateau before deciding on further supporting policy measures to boost and strengthen aggregate demand and supply in the recovery phase of the economy.
But in the meantime, we're told that there are now 46 confirmed cases of coronavirus in Nigeria, and that is according to the National Center for Disease Control. One of the new cases is in Lagos, bringing the total cases in Lagos to 30, while the second case is in Osun State, being its first confirmed case of coronavirus. According to the NCDC, both cases are travelers who returned to Nigeria in the last 7 days. Okay, let's also take a look at what the oil price is saying. Prices extended gains for a third session today, rising alongside broader financial markets on hopes Washington will soon approve a massive aid package to stem the economic impact of the coronavirus pandemic. U.S. crude touched a high of $25.24 a barrel early in the session and was at $24.82 a barrel, up 81 cents. Brent crude was trading up 75 cents at $27.90 a barrel after rising to a high of $28.29. Okay, I guess we have Biono with us now. All right, I was asking, was that decision made by the MPC in line with your expectations?
Oh, yes, it is pretty much in line with expectation, given the sort of dovish chorus we've seen across systemically important central banks across the globe. The decision to hold really isn't surprising, given that a raft of stimulus packages that have been rolled out in the couple of weeks before the MPC met on Monday and Tuesday. So I also, as a way to sort of combat the spillovers from the COVID-19. So the decision to hold and maintain interest rates at current levels, CRR at current levels, and the liquidity ratio also where it is, really is not surprising, I think the most important takeaway is that the bank itself has rolled out some policy sort of intervention earlier on. They've sort of reduced interest rates on their intervention fund from about 9% to about 5%. There was a one-year moratorium on all CBN intervention funds also. In addition, they created a 50 billion targeted credit facility to support household and SMEs, and as well as a special credit support of about 1.1 trillion naira for manufacturing and the healthcare sectors, respectively. So we sort of believe that these stimulus measures adopted so far, they are quite marginal. If you look at those numbers compared to a GDP of about $400 billion, that's just about 1% of it's in fact less than 1% of our GDP, and the impact on the economy would be limited. So what in a way we would have expected to see from the MPC committee was that a possible reduction by 500 basis points in the CRR, given the last increase that took it to 27.5%, at the January MPC meeting. This would have provided support for the banks and allowed the banks also create credit flow to the economy, while the MPC and the central bank itself sort of focus on the core function or their core responsibility of exchanging rate stability, which should be top of the agenda as it is. But the recent adjustment we've seen also, we think that that comes as a relief, but I think we should be seeing a little bit more of that. In a way, I was looking at data recently, also overnight data. If you look at the FX forwards market, you see that rate at the long end has jumped up close to 500 naira level to the dollar, and this clearly tells you what the market is expecting in terms of currency adjustment or price adjustment as in relation to the FX. So all in all, the decision to hold wasn't surprising, but we had our expectation, but the decision to hold didn't take us as a surprise.
Okay, now, would you say that what the MPC has done is perhaps accepting their limitations as to how much monetary policy can do?
So indeed, if you listened well to the governor while he was speaking, he reacted and gave scenarios if they had increased the MPR or increased interest rates, the positive side to that, and of course the negative side. The positive side is that inflation outlook is higher. So if you increase your rates, you sort of sort of combat higher inflation outlook with higher rates, and that will sort of help you tame inflation. Of course, again, the key focus is on currency stability or exchange rate stability, which that would also help achieve higher interest rates, would help stimulate sort of capital inflows into the economy. But I guess why they would want to take that decision is the fact that the pressure now is beyond just increasing interest rate. There are external pressures that are also going to impact on the level of capital inflows that would have resulted into external reserve accretion. So that possibly isn't the route to go. And then the decision to hold just pretty much answers that question. So in a way, they've pretty much exhausted some of the tools in their arsenal. There've been so much of interventions for different sectors, agriculture, airline, manufacturing. Now we're seeing pressure from the healthcare. So there is a new level of intervention for the healthcare. Households also are going to be seeing pressure. There have to be a way that they could reduce the pressure on households via some sort of intervention, but it is pretty difficult also because our social security system is really fragile, it's very weak, it's not even in place. So it's sort of tough to track these things and see how it impacts on the life of the average Nigerian at the end of the day. So what they did end up doing is just see from the supply side how they could reduce this pressure by supporting manufacturing activity and looking at how to increase real sector activity that in turn could lead to growth. So I did agree with you that they have exhausted some of the policy options, and the decision to hold just pretty much is the best thing to do at this point in time.
All right, now to what extent would you say this decision may probably impact asset classes and investment inflow?
So maybe not so much. I don't think we would see much of the impact on asset classes and investment inflows. I mean, the bigger picture is on how COVID-19 is affecting economies both locally and globally, and coordinated monetary easing policies is meant to sort of stem the negative impact on economies. But that does not say or does not mean that these economies will not go into recession or activity would not drop significantly. So for the asset classes also, one thing that is not good for financial assets is this confusion and uncertainty. And then whenever there is high level of confusion and uncertainty, either from policy angle, from the fiscal angle, or from monetary, economic indicators, it causes a lot of volatility in the financial market. So I would expect financial assets to remain relatively volatile. But the upside is that if and when we're able to combat COVID-19, there should be a significant upward repricing of financial assets, given the sort of monetary stimuli that has come into the market or into the economy across regions, across economies. So that's just the positive upside. But pending that time, I would expect financial assets to continue to react to different sentiment from investors, from market participants, and that sentiment is pretty much shaped by confusion and uncertainty.
All right, in 30 seconds, Biodo, how should investors respond to the current situation?
I think in the current situation, safety is very key. Investors should think about safety. Safety, first of all, health-wise. It is when you're alive, you can think about investment, or think about the economy. So safety first, health-wise. All of the NCDC instructions around combating COVID-19 and staying safe, investors should keep to it. And then next is if you have the appetite for risk, then you can expose yourself to the financial asset. And the top of it is that when there are indicators that there might be FX issues and currency adjustment, you probably want to stay safe in dollar-denominated assets. And where that window is not available, then you want to stay safe in assets whose volatility are significantly lower to the overall market or to the overall economy. And in that instance, fixed income assets might just be it. Then if you're looking at the positive side, when there is normalcy in the market, then equity might just be the asset you want to focus on. And the current tide also presents investors the opportunity to enter equity market, to the equity market.
All right, thank you very much for your time, Biodu Keribe, Head Investment Research at AfriInvest. And when Business Morning returns, we look at the future of work in the face of COVID-19 outbreak. To stay with us.